rise and salute the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have roll call?
Counselor Warner?
Here.
Counselor Hartwell?
Here.
Counselor McCormick?
Here.
Counselor Jacqueline?
Here.
Supervisor Lund?
Here. Okay, we'll go right into our first public hearing, and that's on the veterans exemptions. And that would also be local law number 1/99. Did our town assessor have anything you wanted to comment on that, or?
Not that other than in my report, I'm indicating that there'll be a minimal impact. It just really all it does is to adjust our levels the same as Oswego County does at this present time. And I'm not sure if anybody has any questions. They're welcome to ask.
Yes.
If that's passed, and we already have it with the county, do we have to apply for it here at the town too?
No, it's all one. Those who already have exemptions, already have alternative veterans exemption, all it does is just change the level automatically. There's no reapplication or anything. It just automatically takes care of it.
Okay.
But once you're on it, it's a permanent thing.
Dennis, can you make sure that the people realize that they need their name and address?
Yes.
Needs to be.
Anyone, when you do speak, please give your name and address. Anyone else on the exemption thing? No? So we adjourn that one?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Counselor Hartwell?
Aye.
Counselor McCormick?
Aye.
Counselor Jacqueline?
Aye.
Supervisor Lund?
Aye. Okay, we'll call the next meeting. No. The public hearing. I'm losing my place here. Before we get involved in this one, because I know there's going to be lots of questions, so I'm going to read this. Please state your full name and address, raise your hand and be recognized, and do not interrupt or speak when others have the floor. Now, do not disturb others by talking amongst yourselves. I'm sure we don't need to read this, no profanity. Do not take excess time so everyone will have a chance to express their concerns. Direct your questions to the board and they will direct them to the right person. We're here to try to answer your questions. I'm sure there's going to be some we can't answer tonight, but so we can go right into this. I better introduce our engineer, Jerry Rickoff from CNS Engineers. And we also have our town attorney, Ron Carr, here with us tonight, if there's any legal questions about this.
I have some pass-outs if everybody, I have enough. If anybody wants some information on it.
Jerry, why don't we make sure who's in the district and make sure they get a copy of it?
People within the... located on Vacuum Cooler Road along Route 57 to where the water line goes into the Seneca Hill Health Campus, which abuts the existing Seneca Hill Water District. What I did was I came up with some projected costs on the first sheet. You can see that the figured that the Bundyville Water District would pay for a portion of the water main installed as part of the Seneca Hill Water District campus. The portion of the water main that the Bundyville would pay for would be the pump station and the water main along Route 57. The total cost of the project was approximately $1,570,000. The portion of the project along Route 57 is $718,000. When the original Seneca Hill Health Campus Water District was formed, they had estimated there was 451 units within that district, and there was a total of 80 units within the Bundyville Water District. The units is what each unit would be charged for the use of the district. So what I did was I took the $718,000, I added the total number of units for both the Seneca Hill Health Campus Water District and the proposed Bundyville Water District, divided that by the $718,000 and multiplied that times the 0.09809, which is the aqua financing charge per year. That comes out to about 7.5% per year. That came up with $133 per unit per year for those residents within the Bundyville Water District. In addition to this, we have to add the additional costs which would have to go into the Bundyville Water District, which would be the installation of the fire hydrants, the water main taps. We have to do a district formation. We have to go to DEC for a water service extension application. That cost came up to approximately $76,000. I took that cost of $76,000, divided that by the number of units within the Bundyville Water District, times the financing charge, came up to $93 per unit per year for just those people within the Bundyville District. Then we have the 21 hydrants that would be installed within the Bundyville District at a maintenance charge of $42 per year per hydrant. That came out to $11 per unit per year for the hydrant maintenance charge. So the total annual unit charge for the Bundyville Water District would be $237. Now this doesn't include your water usage charges or for bringing the line from the property line to your house. That charge would be in addition to this. The water purchase charge is typically it's about 20,000 gallons a year, and with the present charges that comes out to approximately $128 per year. So the typical Bundyville unit charge would be approximately $365 per unit per year. As it relates to the Bundyville unit charge, one unit is one residential house. If you have a vacant parcel, a separate tax parcel, that would be charged a half a unit. So each unit, each residential house would be charged $365, approximately $365 per year. In a nutshell, that's it. If anybody has any questions.
Dick Geyer, 3449 County Route 57. You said partial unit. Are you talking about the rentals on one property deed? Supposing there's two, you have your house and you have a rental. Does that mean that each one gets charged $365? Is that what you're talking?
Is this, you say one's a rental, is it a separate house?
It's separate. Yeah.
It's on one parcel of land?
One deed, right. Right now I pump water over to it. I don't think I'm the only person here that does something similar to that.
Well, in the original district formation, they were talking about some apartments were charged a half a unit. I'd have to check to see if that one was the case, if that was the one they were talking about or not.
Well, I'm sure I'm not the only one that has more than one parcel on one deed.
Well, when you say one parcel on one deed, you're talking about two different.
My house, I have a
different
mobile
houses.
home. Right, I have a mobile home, say 100 foot away. I pump water to it. Now, you're talking $365 per unit per year.
Right.
Well,
That's assuming that there's one house on one tax parcel. In a case like yours, they'd have to.
You're talking about a meter.
Right.
A meter with a monitor.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right.
Then are you also talking another meter for the other unit that's on the same, is that what you're talking about?
Well, in your case, I'd have to do some checking on that. I don't know if Ron, if you would know how something like that would work. And most of the time, it's 1 meter would serve one house, and that's 1 unit. If you have you would have 2 houses on one piece of property, 1 tax parcel with 2 meters. Right off, I would say that you'd be charged two units. I'd have to do some checking and verify that that'd be the case. But
What would the checking involve? Legalities, legal, or what? I don't understand. I'm surprised it hasn't been addressed this far into the project.
Well, normally you wouldn't have multiple uses on any individual tax parcel. What you're kind of proposing is something that's kind of a little out of the ordinary or unusual, but if you're talking about actual units on 1 tax parcel, 2 units on 1 tax parcel,
Right.
and you're pulling 2 laterals out of there, it seems to me that you're dealing with exactly 2 units.
Well, I'm not saying that's wrong or right. I just wondered
No, but
what determination would, and how one would come to that determination.
I think the unit is pretty well predicated not necessarily on the singular parcel, but on the unit is the residential dwelling. Not addressing the legality of multiple units on individual tax parcels. I think if you have multiple units, then you're going to charge for those multiple units. So if it's an apartment complex, then I think they probably would address that differently in each.
That's where he talks about a partial unit, right?
Right, because there would be individual units within the apartment complex, but that's not what you're talking. You're talking about having 2 dwelling units on a
Basically, I'm talking about the same thing. You're talking about more than 1 unit. You're talking one over the other.
Well, the thing is,
I'm talking one next to the other, which is basically the same thing. The water goes there or the water goes up.
but that's why I was asking you about if you're going to have two separate meters, and then that's where you get into, if you have one, like an apartment building, usually has 1 meter, and that meter goes for the whole apartment building.
Well, this could have 1 meter.
And I think,
In essence, right?
no.
No?
Well, I think then you get into the legal part of it as far as the health issues, and if the health department would allow you to do that. I don't know if they'd allow you to do
Well,
that.
that's what I asked. I don't know.
That's what I'd have to,
What determination you would determine.
I'd have to check the legal part of it and check with the health department and see if they would allow you to do that.
And also, there's 20 years. I heard talk that this 365 per unit a year.
Right, for 20 years.
For 20 years. I didn't see that on here, so.
That's 20 years.
Okay, thank you.
That's with water though. That 365 is with water. There's some here that's not going to be using water. It's not the right figure. Yes.
I'm John Haney at 333 Route 57, and my question is, the same subject, is that I have a property behind my primary property that it isn't got any buildings on it. Is that going to be subject to this half unit?
Does it abut on Route 57, or is it
No.
landlocked? It's
Stayed
landlocked?
off. Yes.
John, it's not buildable anyways, John, so
No.
it would be
I just, from what he said, that
right,
anybody
it's not a
that-
buildable lot, so it would be excluded.
If it's landlocked, then you can't get to it. These units, and this is for those residents or those parcels that are on Route 57 or abut Route 57. So if you have some parcel in the back, you're on the 481 side then, or
No, the riverside.
the riverside?
Yes.
But if it doesn't abut Route 57, then it's not, and especially if it's not a buildable lot, you can't get to it.
It floods.
It's landlocked, then no.
But, it's a separate parcel. That's what
What I could do
raises the question.
is I can get the tax parcel number for that parcel, and then just exclude it from the district. side, they'll make money, on the long side, they'll lose, on the long run, they'll break even. Based on what they've done over the past years, these figures are pretty close, so it doesn't matter what side you're on. They bring it to the property line, then to the property line, you have to take it to your house. You're responsible.
Where is my property line? The center of the road?
No, the center, well, the right-of-way is probably
At the end of the right-of-way.
60 feet wide, so say 30, 33 feet from the center of the road.
Is there any regulations on who can plumb up? Can I dig a ditch out there, do this thing, and put it on myself?
I don't think Oswego County has a code on that. It's something, again, I'd have to check with Bruce Stillman, the health department guy, but I don't think there is. I think anybody can do it.
Dan, what's your, you have, because I don't think you do. Dig it by hand or you can hire.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Yes.
Mike Foley, 3376, County Road 57. Looking at the Bundyville portion of the water supply estimates, I kind of wonder if we don't do this, is the pumping station not get built? Is this the whole cost of the pumping station, $205K? That seems like a pretty good chunk of change for just this one little section. I'm assuming that this is a portion of the cost.
Yes.
If that is, then that's one deal. You have 8-inch water line in here. Is this the 11,000 linear feet? Is that the whole cost of 8-inch? And if that's in there as that, the health campus gets the water line for free? I think there should be the difference between the 8-inch and the 12-inch.
No,
You put in 12-inch anyway.
No, the 8-inch is in, the health campus isn't getting it for free. They're paying for a portion of it. What I did was just take a...
The 273,000, is that what the cost for 8-inch would have been?
That's what the cost for the line that's put in now.
Between
No, that's
8-inch
what's...
and 4-inch.
No, that's what's in there now.
The only thing that would be, there's 12-inch line.
Or,
Yes, there is.
well,
By my ruler, it's 12-inch line.
part of it...
All by my house.
Part of it was... I'm sorry, part of it was...
It was originally spec'd at 8-inch.
part of it was the larger size, but the reason for that is so we could get the water from here all the way down there. We had to go to a larger size line, so...
Every piece of pipe I saw was 12. I looked at a lot of pipe. I'd like to see that number reevaluated as the difference between the 8-inch and the 12-inch.
Well,
That would be fair.
No, because we can't... The size of the line was dictated by the length of the size of the diameter of this line was dictated by the length to get it over to here and still have enough pressure over there.
The original statement that we said was, that we saw, or we were provided, was that there would be an 8-inch line if we didn't do anything. And if we wanted to play the game, then they would go to 12.
On the original...
That was the assumption that was provided to us.
On the original estimate that was done, that was preliminary. That was before we got into design and started doing some... Before we got involved and started doing some hard calculations on it to get the water to that point.
Okay. So if I want to go out and buy 11,000 linear feet of 8-inch, it's going to cost me $273,000? Really close number to me.
Well,
I don't see why we should pay for the entire pipe.
you're not paying for
Seems
the
quite
entire
right.
pipe. You're only paying for a portion of the pipe.
Can we get some further breakdowns as far as what the overall...
You ought to go back to your front page. Your unit was broken down there on the 718,000.
Okay.
Was broken down at 451 units that the medical campus was paying for and 80 units that Bundyville was paying for. Am I correct?
Yeah, the total cost to put in the line, the actual cost to put in the line from here, including the pump station, to here was $718,000. Of that portion, the hospital is paying for, well, 451 units as opposed to the residents along Route 57 paying for 80 units. So you're paying for a portion of the line, not the whole cost of the line. The actual cost of the line from here to here, when I put in the 8-inch line, that was a mistake on my part. It's just that the water line to put it in along here, along this road, was that cost.
All right, well, I guess my main point is that I've been hearing a lot of feedback from the neighbors, and these numbers are way out of sight as far as what I think reality should be.
What's that?
And that's just way too much. It's not gonna fly. It's a whole lot of money. And
Well, the costs are what's actually out there, so I don't, and what people along Route 57 would be paying for a portion of those costs.
I just think that I'd like to see more data. Because what I see here leads me, other than the conclusions that you want to present, I think, is what the main issue is.
Well, I guess,
If you could redo this in a light more of here's the whole cost, here's the Bundyville portion of it. I think that would be a better way to approach it, rather than, because if I look at this, it looks to me like we're paying for the 8-inch water line. I mean, that's.
but you're not, that's not,
Well, see, I don't see that in here.
I don't really,
Have that broken down on the whole project, I think, would be the best way to do it. Show me the numbers for the whole thing. How much did that water line cost? All of it. At the 12-inch, and now let's break that down.
the water line cost, the whole thing cost $1,570,000. It's shown on the first sheet.
Right, that was the
very
entire
top.
project.
That's the entire project.
That's not just water line.
No, that's,
Right, that's-
well, what do you mean? This is the, I don't understand what you're saying.
You're gonna run into is-
The $1.5 million is to bring water from here
Correct.
to the hospital.
And how much did it cost to build the pump? 200K? Or,
The pumping station was $205,000 to build a pump station.
and you're gonna use that number to come up with our number?
Right.
Well, I don't think that's quite fair, is it?
Why not? You need the pumps,
How much-
you need the
what
pump
is-
station to pump water to that point.
Was that, the 205,000, was that the entire cost of the pumping
That's the
station?
entire cost of the pump station, yes.
So, we're paying for the pumping station.
No, you're not.
How do you, I don't
Because-
understand where your logic is.
Well, let me try and explain this a little. The entire project, the entire water line project to serve the Seneca Hill Medical Campus was $1.5 million, $1,570,000.
Okay,
Of that cost, the cost to bring water from this point right here, which includes the tap of the line going to the pump station, this main two right here, the cost of that construction of that water system, the water line and the pump, was $718,000. That's to get from here to here. All the residents, if Seneca Hill Medical Campus wasn't there, it was gone. There's nothing there. It's going to cost the residents $718,000 to go from here to here with water.
all right,
So that's
the number there.
the number from here. But Seneca Hill is there.
Right,
They've already,
factor that in.
they're paying for this portion right here of the cost that I have here. They're paying for all of the portion of that right there.
They're paying a little over half then.
So what I did is
So if we pull the plug on the pumping station, where are they? They're 11,000 feet away with no pressure. That's
But
the
they're-
point that's being made here.
I still understand the point. The hospital is still putting this in, but if the residents want to hook into this line, you're paying for your portion, for a share of that system in order to tap into it.
Okay, we gotta let some other
Well,
people
see, I think the point that a lot of people are, this isn't just me, this is, oh, by the way, without that pumping station, I mean, it's just not gonna work without that. And granted, it's a portion of that Bundyville Water District, but it had better be figured into the Seneca Hill Health Campus. Because without that, it doesn't work.
It is. I
Right, and
understand.
the figures that you have here lead one to believe that we're paying for it. And I don't think that this right here is really what we should look at for numbers.
Look, when I read this, we asked to try to keep these short because there's a lot of other hands up that would like to speak to.
Okay.
Yes, I know yours been up for a long time back there too.
I'm just looking at the numbers here. The about 5.5 or 6 times as much as we are. Of that 718,000 in item A, it's divided by the 451 plus 80. It's divided by 531. So we're paying 80, they're paying 451.
Look at the totals. $1,500,000 total, 718 for the Bundyville Fire. 451 versus 80. They're getting off scot-free.
No, they're
That's the
paying,
logic you just presented.
no. The way he just explained it, the total project is $1,570,000.
Agreed.
The stretch that we live on is 718.
According to them.
So they're paying all of it above the 718, plus about 80% of the 718 in there someplace.
Yes.
Jack Lockery, 3284 County Route 57. If they were to pull the plug on the hospital's end of it, the line would not need to be anywhere near that size. The pumping station would be a lot smaller.
Well,
Am I right?
that's not, the pumping station, if the hospital wasn't there, and we're just bringing water from that point to that point, the pumping station would be smaller, but it would not be significantly smaller where it's going to make that much difference in price. The pumping station, the only thing that would change in the pumping station is the size of the pumps. The pumping station, the piping, everything, bringing the power to it, that would all stay the same. Just the size of the pumps would change because we don't have to pump. As it stands now, we're pumping water from here up to the tower, so we wouldn't have to go that far and pump to the tower. So as far as the pumping station being smaller, yes, it would be smaller. As far as significantly smaller, no.
I have to disagree with you. I believe it would be. I'm not an engineer, but in my opinion, I think it would be.
Well,
And as another point, the line is being 8-inch. I measured it 2, and it is 12-inch.
And I said that that's a mistake of mine. It is 12-inch, so remember that it's 12-inch. Somewhere, I'd have to check and see, somewhere like in here.
Before March Road.
And then this changes. And then this changes to 10.
Way past Mark Road.
That's, I think it goes up in here somewhere, but it
Way
doesn't.
up to 12.
As far as the size, if it's a 10 or a 12 or 16 or 8 or 4, the cost that I have in here is the cost that it costs to put the line in. Like I said, I made a mistake when I put the 8-inch in there. It should have put in water system because when you said it was 12-inch, I remember that it was changed from it's 12 to 10. So the cost, it should say water main or water system instead of saying the size. That's the cost for Aqua to put it in. So that was my mistake.
If originally this got voted in at the original cost, would the price has been retroactively reduced to reflect the difference in what you've come up, the difference that you arrived at here? Instead of 365, what originally would have been without the service, now it's 237. What brought that?
The original proposal was done, I mean, I can't really talk a lot about the original proposal because it was done by another engineering company. I don't know the thought they had behind it. If whatever the cost was at that time, if you would have formed the district, the basis for the figures would have stayed the same. So that's, I mean, the cost that I have here is a maximum cost. It could go less than that. I try.
Can I say something?
Sure.
That original cost, when we got the engineering study before, it reflected 8-inch going to a 12-inch. It also reflected some calculations like a 1,000,000-gallon tank and some things for the tower. When our engineers got involved, they went through and reevaluated it. The size of the tank was considerably smaller. When we asked Jerry to go through and work out the numbers for this, what we asked him to do was only include the cost from the pumping station to the end of the line. People aren't being held responsible as far as cost for any of the pipes on the campus or the cost of the tower. So we've taken that out of the original cost. That's why it's lower.
Because I've heard, well, there hasn't been a lot of information. There's a lot of rumors and a lot of misinformation that the water tower was grossly oversized and the line was grossly oversized. And there hasn't been very little information that was accurate on this whole issue.
And the tank was oversized according to our engineers, and then the pipe was sized properly for what they need for the flow and fire protection and for growth or whatever for the campus.
And as far as the original sizing of the tank, that was, like I said before, that was all preliminary. We have to, whenever you do a study, you have to start somewhere. You do the preliminary study. Then when you get into it, start doing some of the final design, you might find that you can make it smaller. It might have to be a little larger. That's why you do the preliminary first, then you get into the final. So
This price seems way out of line, because I've heard just across the river in Granby, theirs was $89 a year for the 20 years, and we're paying your proposed $237 without water service.
Right.
Or is it more than that for you?
when you say without water service, bring this water
If I
service.
decide not to hook up, that's what I'm saying.
As far as what it was across the road, I have no idea how that price came up. All I've done here is just take the cost for the line. I tried to be as fair as possible to people on Route 57, take the cost of the line, have the people on Route 57 pay for a portion of that cost. These are actual costs, so as far as on the other side, unless you get the whole story on what it is, I can't comment on it. I don't know why it would be that cheap. I mean, that, and something like that wouldn't even pay for anything on this.
It just seems way out of line. This price, if you double it times the units you have on your property, I'm going to be paying $454 a year. I think that's a figure I come to, without service.
If you have
That seems, I've got 2 units.
2 houses?
Yep.
Okay.
And
Well,
it just seems outrageous upon a tax increase. We just had 47% last year. And we had it reduced minimally, but it just seems way out of line.
I can comment on one part of this about being way out of line is that the state has a average for district that right now is around $550 a year for district formation. So this is below the average.
Another point too, is this a district formation or an extension? Because actually the district has already been formed down there. We're just an extension of the district.
Well, that's a
Good question, isn't it?
I don't know if it makes a difference if you want to call it an extension or district formation.
You might get into a legal problem there.
Under the circumstances here, whether one terms it as an extension or the formation of a new district juxtaposed to the present district, under the present situation, it's semantical. It really makes no difference. I mean, what you're doing is you're either extending the existing district, which really is Route 57. You got like a sucker. It goes up Route 57 and then circles around and descends again. Well, what you're doing here is you're just adding, if you will, properties on either side of 57. Now, if that were done 20 years after the original construction, so that the original capital costs were basically consumed by the original district, you may have a different scenario. But under the present situation where everything is coming in the, well, not even in the first year of operation, whether it's an extension or whether it's creation of a new district, there still has to be an allocation of costs and the original construction costs or capital costs of that line, not of the sucker part of it.
If it's an extension versus a district, is there a cost difference between the two?
No.
In the definition?
No. See, ordinarily, if you wanted to be technical about it and you had an extension, you'd have, for instance, like a district that just went in a straight line, okay, and stopped. Now you wanted to extend it out. And that extended out, what you would do is you would allocate the cost of that new construction to that extended district, okay? Now, conceptually, what are you doing here? You're not extending it out lengthwise, you're expanding it widthwise. And what you're doing is you're doing the same thing. You're allocating the costs of that line to the expansion. It's the same thing, whether it's a district, whether you want to call it a district. I don't think this would be calculated as the creation of a new district. It'd be an extension of the existing district, whether you call it a Bundyville extension. Well, it's probably what you can call it.
I know at the time this, the district was being formed, there was an issue of time to get it formed so they could have the right size pipe in it.
Yeah, I was around before, and what they attempted to do, I think, well, I think I know what
I
they...
spoke to you on the phone.
Oh, okay. Well, I think what they tried to do is that while the whole thing was coming together, to make it one big district.
But I assumed at the time it didn't get formed.
Well, it didn't, it got voted down. Right.
So anything now would be, the district is already formed. We're just there.
There is a district
wouldn't be
form, and now what you're doing is you're, if you will, expanding or extending that district to include the properties on each side, okay? And what has to happen is there has to be an appropriate allocation of costs, okay, to the expanded properties, okay? Now, I think what's being attempted here is, the only thing we're addressing is the stick of the sucker, not up at the sucker. So you're trying to allocate those portion of the costs of that line along that Route 57 to the abutting properties. So whether you want to call it an extension or the creation of a new, it would end up to be the same process of allocation. I'm not even making headway here, am I?
Yes.
Someone else has a question, I'll let them go ahead of me, I've already spoken, but I do have a couple more.
Okay. You had one?
I did have a question on item B. I didn't quite understand what that was.
The 76,000?
Yeah.
On the last page, we have it explains what it is. That's for the bringing the water services, tapping line and water services, 90 of them, at $650 each. The district formation is $10,000, and then the WSA, which is the water service DEC, is $7,500.
So of these items, A is the only one that's going against the pipeline itself.
Yes, A is the only item that is attributed to the existing system that's there now. There's
So that's
pipeline.
shared cost with the hospital.
Yes.
And our $133 per unit, if you multiply it times 80, for 20 years, with the interest included, the residents are going to pay $212,800. That is a far cry from saying that we're paying $718,000 and paying the hospital's portion. We're paying our portion, $212, including interest. No.
Yes.
Virginia Long, 21 County 57. I talked to the engineers last year when they were putting in the pipelines. They told me they were absorbing, Seneca Hill was absorbing the extra size of the pipes. They were also absorbing the cost of the tower. And this pumping station already has been going in even before this district started up. I mean, before this petition came up, this blind petition. And there's somebody over on 48 I talked to. They just got this water in. It's $69 a year for 20 years. It costs close to $1,000 for a hookup. And it's through OCWA. So.
As far as the other, on Route 48, I don't know anything about it, but the $69 is, they're paying for some cost. Unless they got some funding or bonds from somebody.
The pipe was already there.
The pipe was there?
No.
No way.
No, the pipe wasn't there.
Came through the motherfucker. Yeah. I don't know.
Yes.
Second time around. You know, Dennis, I didn't have too many questions when I come here. I got these papers. Now I got a lot of questions.
Okay.
Pertaining to December 10th town board meeting, a couple of minutes in there, the last three, Jesse Warner, Councilor Warner said there's a time limit, 45 days to respond to the petition. Doug Gosh forwarded to you people with 46 names. Am I correct? And I said Doug also asked a question you said no, it's mandatory, not permissive referendum. My next question would be, is this a done deal? Have we already been wounded? And are we here to find out how much
Done deal.
we need? Or what?
No, it's not a done deal.
Okay. Well, what will make it a done deal? Another vote?
I believe there's a legality on that. We need to come up with another petition or something?
Right. I mean,
And if the percentage,
Is there, we can vote it in.
the procedure that I think that, there are two ways to formulate the district, okay? One, the town could take it on its own by a resolution, and then it'd be subject to permissive referendum. That's the way the former, the one that was voted down was done.
Yes.
The other way to do it is it actually emanates from a petition of 51% of the property owners within the proposed district, okay? Now, in order to formulate that petition, the petition has to contain certain things. It has to contain maximum estimated costs, okay? It has to also have on it a map plan and study attached, okay? So it's my understanding that what would happen is this is an informational type of thing, meaning that if this Bundyville Extension District were to be formed, it would be formed by the procedure of having a petition of the necessary amounts of residents within the proposed district. That petition would contain the information that's basically set forth in a map and plan, okay, which would include these maximum costs. That petition would go to the board. Because that is a petition of a majority of the properties within the proposed district, it would not be subject to a referendum. It would be just presented to the board and basically passed on then, and then wouldn't go to a referendum.
I think that one must keep in mind, if it was a type of thing where a petition was involved, that if there were two names on the property, as it was when we took a vote, two people were allowed to vote. Am I correct? Now, I don't know what 46 names that Doug got on his petition, but one should remember that if there's two names on that deed, that would be two votes. Am I correct?
No. There's a difference between the requirement for the referendum vote. For a referendum vote, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, it's any qualified voter within the, within the proposed district. But in terms of the petitioning, it's only one assessed parcel gets basically the one vote.
Well, when we voted by booth the first time around, they said, now, my wife and myself are on the petition, okay? That means two votes out of one unit.
Yep.
And that's the way it should come down next time. I don't think that was considered when Doug took his petition out. Okay, now, am I correct? Should that be the way that it should be done? I mean, when we vote on it.
I believe, isn't it this done on assessed value?
Yeah.
It's not number of people on the petition, it would be the assessed value of the district.
The difference would be is on the referendum vote, it's based on a qualified voter. So you can have like a husband and wife, if they own the property, you can get two votes for the referendum. But in this proposed proceeding, there wouldn't be a referendum anticipated. So for the signature, there would only be basically one signature relative to the one assessed unit.
You got apples and oranges here. It depends on which way you want to go. Right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on which way, if the board wants to, and I don't know that isn't what's being discussed, if they want to take it upon themselves to formulate a district and then present it to, the proposed residents of that district for a referendum, that goes one way.
Well,
if it's the residents of that district or the property owners within that district that want to, if you will, try to petition it in and formulate the district, then it goes another way.
Well, I think that the board should, I'd ask the board to take that in consideration consideration at this time? Would you put that in your minutes? Because the first time this thing came down to a vote, it was voted down. The second time, you did a petition, assessed valuation or whatever, and you got 46 names, I understand, right? 46 out of what, 80? Which you thought, well, that makes the scale enough to whatever, to hold a
It's not
meeting.
the 46 names, it's 51% of the assessed valuation. We formulates a district. If you have 51% of the assessed valuation, then the district can be formed. But if it's not affordable,
But if you go to the poll and vote, it could not have been formed because it was voted down.
it was done by petition, Dick. We had nothing, the petition was presented to us.
Then you must take in consideration whether you're going to do petition or vote this next time.
This is up to the people in the district. This is up to the people.
Okay, we got,
John Haney, again, 333, Route 57. I was confused between, you used the word voter. Does that mean I'm a registered voter and I can vote? Or I'm just a resident of the district?
Well, but if you're talking about a referendum vote now, is that what you're talking about?
That's the confusion.
You got to be a qualified electorate, which means that you're a resident and the owner of property.
You have to be registered.
Okay.
No. Nope.
No.
You're wrong.
Don't you have to be on the deed?
Well, yeah.
My other question is this, if you have 3 units, you get 3 votes?
Right. I'm sorry?
If you have 3 units, you get 3 votes.
Right.
Why not?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know which way you're flying from here.
If I have 1 unit, I go down and I vote no or yes on my 1 property.
Right.
I have a second piece of property.
You get 1 vote, regardless if you got multiple properties even within the district. If you're talking about a vote on a referendum.
How about a vote on what this water district is? I mean, we haven't decided what kind of vote we get yet.
Well,
He's talking about 2 votes on
if this district is going to be formulated on the basis of petition, all right, it's going to be based on 51% of the assessed valuation within the proposed district presenting a petition to this board. If that doesn't happen, then maybe a district doesn't get formed. Or maybe the board takes it upon itself to order a map and study and try to formulate a district on its own motion. If it were to do that, and I don't know that there's any sentiment to do that, but if it were to do that, then that action of this board would then be submitted to the people of that district for a referendum, or it could be petitioned in for a referendum, just like the previous one was. That vote on the referendum, okay, is who can vote in that referendum. Any qualified electorate within the district, which is a resident and an owner of property.
So you're going to charge them to hook up a unit that isn't represented by someone who could vote? Is that what you're saying? I mean, I'm saying that if you have more than 1 unit, you ought to get more than 1 vote.
Well, all right, I can't.
That's a valid.
Yeah, well, it's a point. I mean, I get, but that, unfortunately, that isn't the way the statute provides for retail.
Either that or only charge them for 1.
Could I ask one more question?
Yeah, sure.
To the assessor. Is my property more valuable now that I have water hooked up?
Eventually, you would see the value of your property worth more because of the fact of lack of water test when you want to sell it, the fact of disaffected availability of water. But it's usually down the road. It doesn't, something comes along, somebody, the minute they plug the water line in, I sat there in front of your house and they say, gee, the guy's worth a lot. It has to be reflected in sales, and it has to be reflected down the road, and it usually takes a period of time. Eventually. And when you say, you know, is it going to go out of sight? I don't think so.
Give somebody else.
Yes. My thoughts were, I just this goes to a vote and not be decided by 5 elected officials up here, because I think the people who are on the road should have the final say whether or not we want to pay that price per year or not.
It will be the people on that road that have the final say, whether it's a vote or it's a petition that's brought to us. You know, that's the final say. If it's 51%, it's a goal, you know?
The information and the rumors that were flying around that this was a done deal and we were just coming up here just to be informed and it was going to be voted in.
Well, Jack, that's what happens when you listen to rumors.
Well, there hasn't been much information on this at all.
We wait for the information to come to us before we can present it to you.
This is the first time we've seen a price sheet.
The first time we see it. We asked them to get the information together.
We would have had it last week, but it didn't work out that way. You've had your hand up a couple times.
Yeah, I only have one question. My name is Sue Pringo, and I'm from 3452 County Route 57. And I had basically the same question everybody else has on the voting. My name is on the deed, my husband's isn't. But I want to know why, if we're brought up here to vote, and if it does come down to where we vote, as long as he's a registered voter, why does his name have to be on the deed? These people behind me are saying if they have more than one property, and if, you know, it's on their deed and stuff, why can't they vote 2 or 3 times? Well, if that's the case, why can't my husband vote? Just because his name's not on the deed, he's still a registered voter, and he still lives with me. We're married.
Well, I think the election, correct me if I'm wrong, on this type, it's based off the names on the real estate.
The owners of property.
The owners of property. It's not whether you're a registered voter or anything.
I think you need to understand this is not town law, who gets to vote and who doesn't. I believe it's state law, right, Ron?
Right.
Yes, sister.
I'm her husband. And does it say someplace no taxation without representation? How can you tax somebody when I'm not even being represented?
Well, I believe you're being represented through her.
That's not the way this whole country is brought up with. That's what we fought a war over because of that. So everybody would have an equal right to vote on anything that comes down. First they did with the property, and they did away with property. They gave the right to vote to everybody. And now you're discriminating against me because my name's not on the deed.
I'm not. I believe it's. I didn't write that law.
I think that's one of the reasons why we're having this meeting tonight.
And a couple other questions I have. You're telling me that I'm going to be paying $237 because that line is going across my property and I have to pay for it, whether I hook up into it or not.
If you're within the district, yes.
That's what you're telling me. Even though I didn't vote on it, I didn't say I wanted it or anything, I still got to...
Property has to be on, property owner has to be on, yes.
And my second question is, fire hydrant is going to be going in, right?
If the district is formed, yes.
Well, I thought the district was already formed.
No.
That's one of the reasons we're here tonight.
I just wanted to quickly clarify, or possibly a little bit, the difference between the voting and the assessment procedure. Okay, those, an individual, if let's say there was 2 property owners with a $50,000 house versus property owner, 2 property owners with a $100,000 house. On the assessment side, those with the more expensive, obviously, assessment have more weight than those with the lesser assessment. In that, it's a trade-off. I think if you look at it, it tends to be a trade-off. Voting versus petition, 51% of the assessed valuation. I just wanted to throw that out too.
And I think if I might, Mr. Supervisor, the difference of the procedures, I think, if I can make an assumption, it's not spelled out in the statutes. If you notice, there's, like I said before, there are 2 procedures. The one that was kind of presented to the board was the petition procedures. But the reason that there was a difference, I believe, for the 2 types of procedures is when you had the first procedure of the petition of what appears to be, by the state procedure, a majority of the people within this proposed district petitioning the board saying, this is what we want, okay? And understand, the petition has to set forth the costs. In other words, the petitioners have to have some information, which they didn't have originally. But to the petition. But it envisions the petitioners being a majority of the property owners basically within this district saying to this municipality, this is what we want. So with that kind of a petition, I think the sense of the state statute is there really is no need for a referendum vote. It is a vote in a sense. The petition is considered a majority. When, however, the district is formed by the other procedure, where it is the municipality basically saying, hey, I think this is what we want to do, I think this is a good idea, okay? That's the government saying, I want to create this district. Well, if they're going to do that and they adopt it, that unilateral action of the government, the state says, ought to be subjected to a vote of the people who live in that district. The board ought not, the municipality ought not to just unilaterally be able to create the district without their approval. So on the one hand, the petition is considered as kind of like the vote, therefore you don't need a referendum. On the other one, because it's unilateral action of the board, the statute kind of looks to, well, better have a vote of the people to decide if in fact that's what they want. And what the board here was originally confronting presently, I think, was a petition, albeit perhaps bogus in terms of its procedure, okay? But it was a concept of a petition. It wasn't a unilateral action of the board to create this district. So that's really why I think the difference is, so nothing is formed yet.
I don't care if there's two of these, whichever one
Has to go first.
Virginia Lund, I recommend before you do any voting that someone from the town board, or you appoint someone to go talk to all these people on 57 and let them know the whole facts and figures. And I think that's the only way it should be done, because none of these people know what's going on. The people that signed this bogus petition, they don't know what they signed. I can't believe they signed it.
I can't believe they signed it without any information.
I can't either. And I think the town board should either go themselves or appoint someone to go to each home on 57 in Foxville. I would be willing to go, as long as I had the facts and figures.
If a petition is taken around, these figures, I'll revise some of the mistakes that have been brought up tonight. These figures will be in the petition. This has to be part of the petition. If it's a legal petition, a valid petition, it has to be included in there.
The cost has to be there.
With a study and map.
Right. With this map here would be in it.
Right.
Okay.
Darrell Lockery, 3306 County Route 57. I would just hope that we get to vote on ourselves. It would take you off a spot one way or the other, too. I don't trust figures. This is just a piece of paper. It's not a legal piece of paper. Right. Numbers change. Our taxes went up 48% a couple years ago. No fault of anybody here, but things happen. I would have to pay over 20 years about $4,700 for something I don't even want. I'd be more than glad to have a water district in if the people that wanted it paid for it, but I guess you can't do it that way.
Right.
And I think we voted on it once, and I thought that was it. It was only 15 months ago. Now we're back in this again. And I can understand all the problems. I have nothing against a lot of these people. We've got neighbors fighting against neighbors, and it's a shame. I got relatives in here, cousins, my aunt's sitting over there. I hate to say this, but I think if it gets down to it, it would put you people, you wouldn't be on the spot. You either vote yes or no. If we did it ourselves, and the majority ruled. I don't know what we can do about this, but it's an awful problem. And I'm serious. The whole thing, it's like it's a set deal here, and I hope it's not a set deal. That's what, by reading the minutes of the last meeting, you get that feeling.
Yeah,
and
it sure does.
And, okay, that's all.
Dennis, I make a proposal, we cut these figures right in half, maybe you'll get a water district quick.
Second. I second.
Don't say nobody didn't propose it.
Yes.
Good, I'll second it.
Dave Rosa, 3261 County Route 57. I'm just wondering, I deal with a lot of grant money in my job, and I know that the federal government has a great deal of money for subsidizing a lot of these public works projects. And I'm just wondering, has anybody explored any federal grant money to assist. If I'm not mistaken, I think the hospital got some assistance for that project they developed on the Seneca Hill campus. Is there a possibility of realizing some
Well, I can
federal-
answer that. There is money available, not for this project. There's money available. We have applied to the state for money on this project. It's on a list. It's towards the bottom of the list, but it is on a list.
Okay.
There isn't a lot of money available for this type, the situation of this, but there's, we are on a list, and we have looked into funding for it.
Okay, now if that funding came through, what would happen?
Then if the funding came through, whatever amount was there would go towards the debt, would pay off the debt for the district, and it would be reflected in your
It would
assessment.
reduce the annual burden.
There are a lot of grants associated with existing districts where they have water problems or contamination, and then they try to go into
Yeah, most of the
increased flows or
I've
pressures.
done
or
applications in a few other places and talked to the people that review the applications, and they've told me exactly that. The people that are on the top of the list are existing districts or existing systems that already have a problem, not a new district. They have a...
I mean, if you get creative, you can tie it into that Seneca Hill thing.
We did.
You know, so there you got it. You know, it's an existing system.
We did, but
With a problem.
because of how far it's going in that, it makes a difference. They have a rating score, and they have different categories they rate it. We got rated, but we're on the list. Some people don't even get up there. We're on the list. And every year we reapply. And we'll keep doing that. So, but if it ever does come that there's money available, then it'll go against the debt.
Oh, gosh, I'd just like to address the issue of a vote versus a petition. Because when this was voted on, there are some restrictions. A few that I mentioned here tonight. One, you've got to be in town the night of the vote. You've got to be on a deed to vote. You've got to be a registered voter to vote. So if any one of those things aren't in place, you don't have a say. On a petition, I took that petition over a period of weeks, and everybody got the opportunity to either tell me yes or no. And if you didn't want to sign it, there wasn't any arm twisting. I didn't try and twist anybody's arm and convince them to sign that petition. If you want water, you signed it. If you don't want water, you don't sign it. And that's, everybody has a say then. You can sign the petition if you want water today, tomorrow, or next week. But everybody's going to get their say. It's not set to the date of a vote. And I think a petition is fair, is more fair, because everybody is going to have a say on a petition. On that vote, there was people out of town, there was people that weren't registered, and that were property owners and didn't have an opportunity to have a say.
Yes.
We elected a president, we vote for him, we don't petition. If we petition again, he might get kicked out of office. You vote, that's how you decide issues, you vote.
Jack Locker again. What was the margin of the vote? What was the numbers on the vote? What was voted down?
5 or 6 votes, wasn't it?
About 5 or 6 votes.
25, I believe. 25. So it was 6 votes. And that was with 56 people voting out of a total of 101, I believe.
Well, you had
Maybe
people,
around about 21, maybe 100.
you had people out of town that couldn't vote. They were upset because they couldn't do absentee. The law says you can't. So.
What law was that you were talking about, that you can't do what?
You can't absentee on a water district. We got into that, didn't we, Barb? The Board of Elections told us could not have an absentee ballot.
That's correct. Well, whose fault was it? It was publicized that there was going to be a vote. Someone's out of town. I mean, you got 2/3 vote, didn't you?
Dick, it doesn't make any difference to me which way this goes. But people are talking about whether you can vote or whether a petition is better.
I'm for voting myself.
We'll see. You know, it's up to everybody.
This gentleman back.
John Heaney again. My question was, you were talking about the vote. I assumed that it was the assessed valuation of those voters.
That's a petition.
The petition.
The last petition that we had was 50.1% of the total assessed valuation properties in the district indicated that there was a go.
So why are we here? It was 50%.
Well, it was indicated that that's what, you know, that you wanted it, that's all. And then you have to go from there.
It wasn't a legal petition, it was it expressed an interest in doing the water, forming a water district and supplying water once again. So when they expressed an interest, we've asked to have some numbers brought up, some costs, and we had a public hearing on it. Nobody up here has decided anything, and we're just trying to listen and hear the concerns of the people. So.
Yes.
One question. On your $237 per unit, okay, your second unit is half price, right? Then what would be the size of the second unit? What would that have to be?
When you're saying the second unit half price, what do you mean by that?
Well, you said like someone had, like say I have two pieces of property. One was with my home and one was a side lot. Okay, what size does that lot have to be before you're charged half price?
The side lot, is it a separate tax parcel?
Right.
Is it a buildable lot?
No.
Well, if it's not a buildable lot, it's not a legal
It's not
lot.
really a legal lot for the town of Volney anyway.
Well, if it's existing, then it's legal. How much frontage is there?
Like a quarter, 1/4. Not more than that.
Quarter acre?
You'd have to have, what, water and sewer to develop that?
But you can't build it in town of Volney.
Not right now, not without water and sewer.
You couldn't build on a quarter. You can't build on a quarter.
Maybe less than that.
That would be another good question.
Dennis, in other municipalities I work in, is that if a person has, and we went through this, you combine lots, paragraph-wise, to eliminate the charge, the half-unit charge on a vacant parcel. That's a standard procedure, which the last water district that I was involved in, there was many mergers of properties. In other words, if you had a vacant parcel, you just merge it in with your, as long as it's contiguous and it's in the same name. Right. Well, you don't even have to give it under 1 deed. All you're doing is, I believe the way the statute is how it's perceived on the tax roll. And if you're concerned about, I mean, call people in Codnoy if you want to know. They're looking at $342 before they use any water per unit.
Yes.
Jack Locker again. This petition, which is, he said was bogus, if for some reason somebody does carry a petition, the article number of the law and hopefully the description of the law will tell whether we can vote on it or it goes to permissive, it goes to your vote rather than our vote. This one here doesn't, it says article and the circle, there's nothing there. Whether it's 12 or 12A, it's not on there. And it should be, because to represent the right procedure.
If it goes back out to a petition, I believe that's the way it would go. And regardless, you people are the ones voting on it. We're not going to be the ones that vote this in.
Well, I don't think so.
We would be accepting what the majority of the people wanted. That's the way it goes.
Yes.
The majority of the people, meaning assessed value?
Assessed value.
Okay, if another petition goes around, shouldn't that be each one of our right to see that petition? Because whoever takes that around could just go to the highest assessed value homes to equal the 51%, get their vote, because they do have the money to pay for all this, and we would still be stuck in the hole. So I think everyone should be able to view the petition, either put a yes or a no on it. Same thing as voting, the other way around.
I think another thing too might have to be clarified too is, even if there's a petition, I hear the words done deal. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a done deal. It just means that it's come before the board. I think the board could basically, upon review of that petition, not necessarily issue or adopt an order of establishment of the district if we're basic, So I don't know that that's a done deal, but I suppose what the point you make is accurate. That could happen.
still voting, even if you don't get to vote. You're saying you didn't see the petition, so you don't sign it, but it doesn't really matter, because whether you sign it or not, more people already did. It's just like when you do the presidential elections, and they don't care about the last 17 states and how they voted, because the big states already voted, and they already know what's going to happen, so it doesn't really matter what the people in the other states did, because those people already won. And then with the assessed value and the vote, as far as like how that works, I had a question earlier, but the assessor answered it. Basically, if you have, one way or the other, somebody has more pull than somebody else. If you have a lot of houses and 3 houses on it or whatever, then your assessed value is most likely going to be higher than somebody that has 1. So you're going to have a bigger vote. So even though you didn't get 3 separate votes, you're still going to have that portion, that percentage of the vote. So you're still going to have that extra pull. And for more than one person, like in one property, I mean, how is that even fair? I mean, if somebody, just because there's one person living in a house and there's 2 people living in a house, why should the house that has 2 people living in it have more than 1 vote than a person that has 1 living in it? I mean, does that mean that somebody that's married gets 2 votes, and if you're not married, you get 1 vote? And that's not fair either. Anyway.
That's a very good point.
My name's Mark Reed, 3347 County Route 57. I'm not much for speaking, but on this pumping station, there'd be no reason for a pumping station if it wasn't for the hospital site. On Route 48, I just went to the water line for my mother, and they said they're tapping into a 54-inch line that runs from Oswego to Syracuse, and there's enough pressure there for all the residents. You don't need a pumping station. The only reason that we need a pumping station on 57 is because of the hospital. So my feeling is we shouldn't have to pay for a pumping station.
Exactly. Well, the pumping station connects to the same 54-inch line, but because of the differences in elevations, we do need a pumping station there.
Even if there wasn't a hospital?
Yeah.
Because of the tower.
Well, it's pumping to the tower, but the tower also comes back and helps to serve this area. But you're not paying for the tower.
You still get certain fire flow too. Fire protection, right?
Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about the tower is helping the people on Route 57, but people on Route 57 aren't paying for that tower. So that's one part that you're getting basically for nothing.
The fact the tower exists, though, has to do with the pumping station existing. If you're just pushing from a 54-inch line roughly within the same elevation, you don't need to have that much, you don't need to have any additional pressure. To push up that tower and keep all that pressure up there, granted, yeah, it's going to give you good pressure. That's an excellent, cool thing. But without that additional need to keep that water up there, you wouldn't need a pumping station. That's the point I think that is trying to be made.
Well, as far as the design, I disagree with that.
Free country.
Yes.
Okay, it's me again, Sue Pringle. And I think I have to agree with everybody that wants it to go to a vote. Because me, myself, I don't feel that I want to sign another petition. Because what are we going to get? Another piece of paper? They might have different figures, just like everything else. Every time we come to a meeting, figures change. Everything changes. I'd rather just bring it to a vote on it, and get it over with. People aren't here to vote on it. At least you're not sending people around with false figures. You're right.
Well, if a petition...
You keep telling us. You're telling us tonight. Okay, if we get another grant or whatever, well, the figures will change again. That's not helping us now. That's not telling us what we want to know now. All we hear is if. Things are going to change. Okay, nothing's going to change. Everything's going to stay the same. Our taxes are going to go up. No matter what we do, we're going to pay. I'd say we should just take, when it comes up to a vote. That is the way I want to do it. I'm not signing no more And I will have my husband's name put on the deed so he can vote too.
We've been talking about real money here, and I'd like to nickel dime you here. But the hydrant maintenance charge, what's that include?
That includes the maintenance of the hydrant.
Do I clean it? Do I open it up? The kids will do that.
Oh, you don't do anything to it. That includes, that's for Aqua, basically, there's two different ways to do it. You can pay for the hydrant and have Aqua install it, or Aqua install it, maintain it, and charge you $42 a year for them to install a hydrant and maintain it. If it breaks, they'll come in and fix it, they'll paint it, they'll change the valves, or if it needs work on it, they'll do it. But it includes the installation of hydrant too.
Okay, that includes the installation. How much is that?
Roughly $1,500. If you want the exact price, I'd have to talk to Aqua and see.
Okay.
Yes.
Look, guys, I called my insurance company, the average savings on your homeowner's insurance to have that $11 fire hydrant is $50 a year.
That's it? You get it,
Daryl.
Terrell Lackery again. Maybe I can use that $50 a year to repave my driveway where they tore it up and never fixed it.
and then
Huh?
fix it, right.
Not only that, they haven't fixed the ditch in front of my house.
Well, as far as the restoration, the restoration will be done when they can. They can't do it this time of the year.
They could have done it back in October when they tore it up and they put the pipeline through.
What they're doing is waiting for it to settle so they come back and do it once.
I don't believe it.
They could have paved the driveways anyways. They did on the west side, and that was after ours was done.
I don't trust the information. You said you were wrong on the 8-inch line. You said that shouldn't be in there. Where else? What other mistakes are in there?
The only thing I did was, instead of saying 8-inch, just...
Whatever. Doesn't matter. It's not correct, is it?
Yes.
It's Captain City again. I just have a request. If this goes to a petition, and I think that with people not being able to necessarily get there certain days a week, or people having to work or whatever they have to do, that's the fairest way to go. But that the information that needs to be there, the amounts of money, is it just going to be an amount of money, or is it going to explain where all the money comes from? Like, is it going to have details, or does it have, just like, if this is what it's going to cost you, so that you know that you're signing, that you're going to have, it's probably going to cost you this much?
You're talking about the petition. The petition will have what we call a financing plan. And the financing plan is basically these 3 sheets here along with a little more information. But it should have enough information where you can read it and make a decision on it.
Okay, well then, I mean, so it will be explained in much clearer terms than the information here. I mean, a lot of people here didn't understand that it was only about 18% of the cost that was being paid, and that the cost actually that is part of that $718,000 is only $133 a year, is that cost. The other cost is the stuff, the things to your house, so that it goes to your property line, right? That's correct, right? Part A is the only part that's part of the hospital's thing. So it's only $133. That's our part of that $718,000. It's only the $133 a year. The other part is caused by things that have to go to our house and the hydrants and all that stuff.
I'll try and make it a lot more
And,
clear.
you know, because in layman's terms, I mean, people really need to, someone who hasn't been here and hear all those details could, get scared away.
I guess because I did the figures, I was familiar with them, so I understood what I wrote. But when somebody that doesn't know it, I'll
Right,
make
that's
it
what I mean.
clear.
I would like to, put that request so that people know that that's exactly what's going on, and they don't think, misunderstand again.
If it gets to the point of petition, I'll put it together.
Fraction apart, like the total cost, and then this is the cost that you're paying.
It's not $133 a year. It's either $237 or $365.
Yeah, it was.
Not what she just said. The 133 is your actual cost, the way it, as far as the line is concerned, in the pumping station.
My bill every year is either going to be 237 or 365.
That's right.
That's
Approximately.
That's what counts.
That's top line.
Everything else means nothing. That's what counts.
Yes.
The fire hydrant issue. I pay on my taxes for fire protection. Should that come out of the fire protection fund rather than my water bill?
I don't know if that's the way it works, but
That's what it amounts to. It's for fire protection, the fire hydrants.
The fire protection is for the fire district and firehouse and equipment, isn't it? This is for a fire hydrant, which is part of the water system. It's not, what you're paying for on one thing is for the fire department, for their equipment. If it came out of that district, or if it came out of the fire protection money, then you'd have to raise the fire protection money to pay for it, so.
Yes.
Dave Rose again. If this comes to pass, and at the end of the year when we get our tax bill, is this figure going to be broken out separately?
Yes. As a water district?
Yeah.
It'd be broken down separately.
Okay. Because then you'll get a real, look at what you're actually paying. And if there's a percent increase, it shouldn't be reflected over this amount.
Increase as far as?
Taxes, they go up from a percentage point, it shouldn't be.
It won't be reflected in
Right.
Actually, these numbers would go down if there was any construction down there, like building. If there was a new home right up someplace or anything
There's
like
not
that.
a lot of places to build anymore.
Well, I realize that. I mean, I know the area. Someone want to make a motion to close this?
I'll make a motion to close this.
I'll second it.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, flip the sheet over.
Flip the sheet over? Is that what we do? Okay. It didn't come with instructions. Mine didn't come with instructions. Huh? Okay.
Yes, we did. What's the question?
I wanted an answer for the question I gave you, what you were appointing someone now.
As far as going, us appointing someone to go door to door?
Either appointing from the town board or two of this, or appoint someone to go door to door. You have influence, you have senior citizens, and I don't
I don't know if we can get somebody to go door to door or not, and that's, if we do, it'll probably be with a petition. I mean, it's not that we're gonna do it. If somebody comes around with a petition, then they'll have it.
But somebody that has the knowledge and that is going to show them everything with the correct information.
So it's down to who's going to do the petition.
Gotta be a valid petition should be, comes through the board.
Well, the other one didn't.
I don't think she's talking about a petition, is she? She's just talking about information.
Yes.
To go door to door and give information.
We're going to make sure of our figures before, so we can put it together, that we got the right cost to present to anybody. Oh, there'll be... When we another public hearing on it, yes. When we get to the right order of business, we'll do the resolution on it. We've closed our public hearing. We're trying to get ready to open our regular meetings.
Ginny? Did you get Ginny Long? Did you get her? I get her to shut up. Once we get the figures and you know some people down there that don't have the opportunity to come out and see, I will, give me a call and I will come come down to their place
We're not
first.
supposed to answer any questions. Take down all the input and go from
They said, when we get the facts and figures as far as costs, and you have someone that has a concern, call me, let me know who they are, and I'll come down first and talk to them. As far as the numbers, try to explain it to them. Well, we don't have a lot of time, but I mean, if there's a petition they make.
Can I go home, take a 5-minute break? I gotta get a cup of coffee. Take a 5-minute break?
No.
Take a 5-minute recess?
Let's keep going. It's only going to take 5 minutes to fix
Well,
the
let's
rest.
get the meeting open.
There's no time period right now because there hasn't been anything officially done. Yeah. I mean, now, this is just an informational. This is all this is.
Last meeting, and you told me.
I believe what I said to you was that we'd be voting, not necessarily voting, we'd be having the public hearing.
And I said, we don't have a say, and you said no.
Not as far as that petition is concerned. That petition was presented to us. We have to have a meeting. I mean, we're honoring the man's petition.
I'm sorry.
I mean, we'd honor yours petition if you brought one to us.
But I do think somebody should go door to door.
Well, we have to wait till we get the facts and make sure it's
There has
a
been
set
too many
amount or what it's going to be.
misrepresentations here, and it's got to be straightened out. Right?
Jessica, what you want a cigar or so? Jessica, what you want a cigar? It's cool enough.
We can have a regular meeting, even 4 of us. We can get it started, right? Okay, we'll call our regular town board meeting to order. We'll dispense with the roll call.
Gavel.
We'll call our regular town board meeting to order, and we'll dispense with the roll call. Communications and announcements. The exemption deadline for all exemption programs is March 1st, 1999. Real property taxes received after January 31st, 1999 will have an added fee of 1% per month. The tax collector will be collecting taxes Monday through Saturday during January, and Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays in February and March. The first payment was made to Armstrong World Industries in the amount of $4,211.96. There's free public dancing, round and square, and easy listening music presented by the Little Ladies and the Country Gents will be held the last 2 Wednesdays of each month starting January 20th, 1999, 7 to 9 p.m. until April. The planning board's monthly meetings have been changed to the first Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. Starting February 1st, 1999, DA night court will be held at 6 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. And congratulations and welcome to Sean Osborne, Assistant Code Enforcement, Building Inspector Ralph Stacy Jr., Assistant Constable, and Dennis Hawthorne Jr., Co-Attorney. Okay, we'll go into our committee reports. The assessor.
Okay, the original seniors exemptions were mailed out, required for us to mail out January 1, and those levels of income, it's a means test, are those that are posted by each taxing entity, the town, county, school. Ron Carr was able to quickly stipulate the erroneous Weichert litigation served against me in December. I submitted an advisory appraisal to the state of New York for advisory appraisal on all of Rule Section 6 and those complex industries such as Miller's, Armstrong. That's the first leg of starting the updating process for putting on the rules of the year 2000. And we've already went through the change in level of the alternative veterans.
Dog control. You have that number, or did he leave?
Month of December, 83 total number of calls received, 8 total number of dogs held in the dogs have been adopted, 3 dogs have been euthanized, 3 dogs were reported lost, 3 dog bites were reported. He traveled 542 miles, and the floor needs painting at the kennel.
Painting everyone.
Yeah.
Highway.
Building inspection.
Expenses for
Did I miss him? Okay.
1998. Bills submitted before the December 29th special meeting for supplies and maintenance, $1,384.29. Bills submitted after the meeting, $3,639.06. Payroll, $22,039.36 for a total of $27,062.71. To be reimbursed from the county for snow plowing, $11,542.25. Payroll hours, 771.2 hours machinery repair, 513 hours tree work, 10 hours beaver dams, 17 hours coal patching, 511 and a half hours plowing and sanding, for a total of 1,822.7 hours. For the month of December, we used 408.6 gallons of gas, 2,092.1 gallons of fuel. We'd like to talk to everybody about their mailboxes. They should make sure that they're secure on the post. Posts not rotted. They're going to stand up there for a while. We've had a lot of complaints that the plows knock them down. The plows don't knock them down. They're just weak to start with. We want to remind everybody that pushing snow in the road or blowing in the road or shoveling in the road is illegal. I have some pictures here if anybody wants to see them after the meeting of some of the things that the Highway Department did last year. They're more than welcome to look at them.
Building inspector.
For the month of December, we did permits for 1 manufactured home, 1 repair, 1 deck for a total of 3 permits. Permit fees collected $296. We did 15 new construction inspections, 4 fire safety, 5 housing codes, and 20 zoning for a total of 44 inspections. We issued 15 zoning violation notices. Most of these were for junk cars that just seem to be multiplying like rabbits throughout the town. We also issued 3 building code violation notices for a total of 18 violation notices issued. For the year 1998, we did permits for 5 single-family homes, 34 manufactured homes, 19 additions, 17 accessory buildings, 8 garages, 3 septic systems, 15 pools, 6 decks, 1 wood stove or chimney installation, 2 commercial buildings, 1 industrial, and 11 repair or alterations for a total of 122 permits. Total fees collected for the year, $18,433. Inspections for the year, we did 193 new construction inspections, 29 fire safety, 31 housing, and 161 zoning inspections for a total of 414 inspections. We issued 10 certificates of compliance and 41 certificates of occupancy. Most everyone's aware, but just a word to the wise, I guess, there's been a lot of roof collapses. People should check their roofs. The roofs that are mostly in danger are the truss design roofs that span large open areas, or homes with roofs that don't have a real good pitch to them. 2 or 3 feet of snow, lake effect snow doesn't weigh much, but when you start adding rain and warmer temperatures to it, most of the homes in the area are designed for 40 pounds per square foot roof snow load. It doesn't take long to exceed that, and there's been a lot in the paper about roof collapses. There's been a lot of more roof collapses that have never made the press or never made the papers. I've seen at least 3 mobile homes in the town that have had roofs come in on them, number of garages and so forth. If you can't get up there yourself, it's well worth hiring somebody to get some of that snow off before it gets too heavy. By the same point with some of the storms we've had, some of these newer homes that have heating systems that vent through the side of the house like a dryer, when we get a lot of drifting, we want to make sure that those vents stay clear, because if the snow does drift up over those vents, and it can cover the vent, because these newer heating systems don't put out anywhere near the heat that the older heating systems do, it's possible to get a good carbon monoxide backup into the home. Anybody with manufactured homes, and if you heard, there's a lot of manufactured homes going in, and I've seen it happen on my own home when I first got it. We got a storm with 2 or 3 feet of snow. HUD only requires the chimney for a furnace to come out of the roof about a foot or so. Until I put an extension on twice within 2 weeks, you couldn't see the chimney. The snow would just cover it, and then fortunately the furnace would malfunction and not light. But if the furnace did light, you're going to get a lot of carbon monoxide back up into the home. So make sure that your chimneys and everything stay clear. Or if there's a furnace that vents through the side, make sure your snow doesn't drift up against it. For the future and this year, what we're looking at is a very aggressive campaign to get rid of all these junk cars that are appearing in the town. We're in the process of putting a rather aggressive cleanup campaign in general in place. In the spring, the highway department's going to be participating again. We'll be getting the crews from the Butler camp to do some of the roadsides. The code enforcement office is going to once again get very aggressive once the snow is gone in regards to getting rid of the junk cars and so forth that are really starting to overtake the town. We've got our new permit tracking program in place. The computer in our office has been upgraded. The permit program is installed. This gives us much better tracking of permits. It gives us a history for each individual parcel that will always stay with that parcel, because we can search it by the tax ID number, we can search it by the street address, we can search it by the name. In the past, the permits were always issued in just the name, and as owners change, you kind of lose the history of that parcel. That will no longer happen. That history will always stay with that parcel, so that if somebody 50 years from now buys it and wants to know what the previous history is, we'll be able to tell them what it is. Dave's office and I are working together very closely on this. Pretty soon we'll have our computers networked together, which will even enhance farther our ability to build a history for each of these parcels as time goes by. Thank you.
Dan, how far back does your history go? Do you enter all your past records, or are you just doing current ones?
From what I've found in the fall, records go back early 70s. There's some earlier than that, but there's not really any detail.
Is that what you're going to enter? Are you just doing current ones or new ones?
Right now I'm doing current as time permits, or if we can get some grant funding to bring on some help, we can enter the back records.
Historian?
Supervisor, Volney Town Board and residents. A new year and the continuation of all the plans for the Volney memories. Some of you know that I'm trying to finalize other lists of veterans and other wars, and they will also be framed and identified as we did the Civil War. It's a slow process. We don't want to miss anyone. I've had one person contact me on the Civil War listing. Another project in the works is an oak slimline display case to be centered under the Civil War listing. We want it to be able to be locked to prevent anything coming up missing. We would like people to loan or donate historic items to be displayed safely. Don Woodruff is helping me with this, and I found out tonight that Dennis is also getting someone to draw up some plans for a case. We're hoping to make it a lighted cabinet. I'm also working on files and pictures of the small one-room schoolhouses in the town of Volney. It's growing slowly, but if anyone has pictures or any other memorabilia that I could borrow or you would want to donate, please drop it off at my home or the town clerk's office, or you can call and I will meet you at the town hall. Letters or any records pertaining to a school, or I'm going to add anything else that you think would be of interest for the town history, could be that I could copy and immediately return to you. I would be very appreciative. Respectfully, Fern Parsons, historian.
Regular monthly meeting of the Town of Volney Planning Board was held Wednesday evening, January 6th, in the senior conference room. All members were in attendance. The minutes of December 2nd, 1998 were approved. There was a letter from the DEC regarding the Seneca Hill project, which was discussed, and it was determined that a follow-up call to the DEC is necessary to clear up some of the things that were in the letter. Gary Tice has submitted for a subdivision of a piece of property located at 11 Hilltop Lane off from State Route 3. It consists of a half an acre, and the reason for the subdivision is to get a separate deed for the house that his daughter owns on that property. There was no determination made at this meeting as more information is necessary. The Oswego Hospital did submit the resolution to amend the October minutes, which the board needed after the modification of the previous approval. So it can include the 6.853 acres and the approval of the zoning board for the use variance and the area variance for the parking spaces to be sized 9 feet by 18 feet with a 24-foot aisle. A motion was made to amend the minutes, and the resolution was passed unanimously. In tentative issues, a discussion came up of the Convertino Diversified Developer site on County Route 6, and an appeal to the zoning board to interpret the decision of the code enforcement officer on this site has been asked to be done. The board brought up the zoning update committee and when it will be formed and who's going to be on the committee and so on. And I said that I would check with the town board in regard to that. The planning board made a motion to change their meeting night to the first Tuesday night of each month for the year 1999, as long as there are no conflicting meetings with other boards. The next meeting of the planning board will be held February 2nd, 1999 at 7 p.m. at the town hall, at the Town of Volney Senior Conference Room, and the board invites anyone who's interested to please attend the meeting. The January 26, 1999 Onondaga County training session was discussed, and it was suggested that a carpooling at the municipal building be in effect for this meeting. Having no further business, the meeting was adjourned.
Recreation.
Past events, we tried to do a sliding party again in January or in December, and due to the severe cold, we weren't able to do that. We brought the kids inside and we watched the movie Air Bud. Upcoming events, we're going to do a movie on February 15th here at the town hall from 10 a.m. until noon, and we're going to have parents wrap, and we'll have popcorn and soda here for the kids. The announcements, the town of Scribbles have invited us to join in their snow blast. All the papers are out in the main hall on my table if anybody's interested. And all of the end of the year paperwork was completed and turned into the county by December 31st.
Zoning.
Our meeting was held Wednesday, January 13th, 1999 at 7 p.m. There was nothing on our agenda at that time except for reading and approving of our minutes from the December meeting. Our whole zoning board will be attending the basic training course at Drumlin's on January 26th. Also, this class is put on every year by the Onondaga Planning Federation. And I would like to, it's not in my report, but I would like to also also know if the board can tell me when we might be having zoning update meetings.
I think we were waiting for a recommendation from you.
We were still waiting for a list of things that you wanted specifically to go over in our zoning. So not getting a list from you, we haven't planned any meetings yet, Barb.
Okay. I was waiting to find out when we were going to be getting together. All right, I'll have that for you.
Yes, I have something on the solid waste. Jim gave this to me a while ago, and he gave me the list of meetings of the solid waste board. They meet on Thursdays, and if anybody's interested in that, it's always at 8 o'clock in the morning. If anybody's interested in that day, you're welcome to get a list. A couple of things that might be of interest is the Department of Solid Waste has received 300 tons of fish waste this year. It was so much that the crews ran out of wood chips they needed to mix with them. However, the county is able to receive enough wood chips as a result of the Onondaga County cleanup following the heavy storm that occurred on Labor Day. Receiving all of these materials will mean that we will be able to offer a great deal of compost this spring. And I know you're not pretty interested in fish, but the compost, that's why I brought it up. Okay? And there's a video that they have. It's called Oswego County Solid Waste. And it's distributed to many of the rental shops and to the public libraries. If anybody's interested in what happens to the recyclables in their trash after they separate them, or they have any questions about the solid waste that may be of interest to you. And they have an expansion maintenance building, and they expect that to be completed within a few weeks. It doesn't say where it is, so I'm not exactly sure. Does anybody know where that is?
Waste expansion building?
Yeah.
I know they're putting 2 new buildings up here on the hill.
Or maybe that's what it is. And legislature has not approved the budget yet. It's not a surprise. If the current budget is proposed that becomes effective, the transfer stations will have to close on holidays, and their general hours of operation will have to be shortened in order to cut down the payment for overtime. And the new operating schedule will soon be developed. That might be of interest to people that, And then they're planning on doing a paint collection program in 1999. And so, if anybody has old paint in their garages or wherever, they may want to keep that until they announce when that pickup is going to be, or when, they can take it to the landfill. So I thought maybe some of those things might be of interest. We haven't had a report on solid waste in a while.
Can I ask Carl a question?
Sure.
Carl, you said they're going to have to cut back on the overtime and work because of the budget wasn't passed?
That's what it said in here.
But wasn't the budget defaulted through at what they proposed because there wasn't a...
Right now, they are over, or they were over budget for last year, so they had to cut back on some of the days after the holidays and stuff. They had already about $250,000 over budget on overtime. So they're looking at, their budget this year has been cut a little bit. They're looking to see what they can do up there to and going. They're going to have to close on certain days, I think. They're still talking about it. They haven't made any decision on it. They're talking about closing 1 day a week maybe, or half a day a week or whatever, to try to keep it within the budget. The budget that they've got, they didn't get past the total county budget, but it went into place by default. They couldn't get enough people to
conditions here tonight. And I hope not. Okay, we'll go to our resolutions.
Resolution 9939, approval of regular meeting minutes. Move to approve the regular town board meeting minutes of December 10th, 1998, having been distributed without reading. I'll move.
I'll second it.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Counselor Hartman?
Aye.
Counselor McCormick?
Aye.
Counselor Jacob?
Aye.
Supervisor Lott?
Aye.
Motion is carried.
Resolution 9940, approval of special year-end meeting minutes. Move to approve the special meeting minutes to pay the end of the year vouchers having been distributed without reading.
I'll second it.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Counselor Hartman?
Aye.
McCormick?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Supervisor Lott?
Aye.
Motion is carried.
Resolution 99-1141, payment of vouchers. Move to authorize the supervisor to pay vouchers 1 through 24 general fund in the amount of $211,409.47 and vouchers 1 through 13 highway fund in the amount of $3,639.06 shown on abstract run from designated accounts. I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Counselor Hartman?
Aye.
Counselor McCormick?
Aye.
Counselor Jacob?
Aye.
Supervisor Lott?
Aye.
Motion is carried.
And again, I'd like to clarify that figure. The bulk of that figure is money spent on the sewer district in Seneca Hill.
Resolution 99-42, adopt local law 9901, veterans exemption. Move to adopt local law 99-01, establishing the maximum veterans alternative exemption under section 458-A of the real property tax law as stated below. And I'm going to save everybody the anguish of me reading through this whole thing because we do have copies of it. And let it go with that.
I'll second.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Counselor Hartman?
Aye.
McCormick?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Supervisor Lott?
Aye.
Resolution 99-43, amendment to Resolution 98-183 to encumber surplus money from all special districts. Move to amend Resolution 98-183 to encumber all surplus money from all special districts.
I'll second it.
How much?
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Counselor Hartman?
Aye.
Aye.
Counselor Jacob?
Aye.
Supervisor Lott?
Aye.
Resolution 99-44, Seneca Hill Medical Campus fire hydrants. Move to approve the request to install 8 fire hydrants in the existing Oswego Healthcare Campus water district shown on map file number 1497, sheet 11. The developer Purcell Construction will pay for the hydrant installation and bill the town $42 per hydrant per annual maintenance rate. I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Discussion. I thought the letter was from Aqua to install these hydrants at the healthcare campus. Dan, you read that. You approved what they said in the letter. The letter was from Aqua, right?
Yeah, that was on Aqua letterhead.
Well, where did Purcell come into this?
Unless Purcell is a subcontractor that Aqua hired. It's not.
Well, this says Purcell Construction.
Right here, the developer. He's a developer.
Developer of what?
Oh,
I think that you will pay for the hydrants. Aqua will install, and we will pay for them.
going to pay, or the housing complex is going to pay the cost of the hydrant, just as the nursing home paid for the hydrants that are up there.
Well,
Is that wrong then? It says
I don't know, he says he's gonna build a town. I thought Aqua builds.
right off the here, the developer for self-construction will pay for the hydrant installation in conjunction with the 8-inch and 10-inch water main extension. I took it right off of Aqua.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is just he'll pay for the hydrant installation and then build a town $42 per hydrant. Does that say that in that letter?
That's what it says. The town will be notified when the hydrant is in service, and then will be billed the annual hydrant maintenance rate, which is currently $42 per
All
hydrant.
right, Aqua will bill us.
I think if you check, it's Aqua that
Aqua
we're
will
doing
bill
for
us.
the hydrant maintenance.
That's what confusing
It
part
just
was.
says then will be billed.
Yeah, well, Aqua wrote the letter, so
Yeah.
Aqua will probably bill us.
So Aqua will bill them.
He'll notify Aqua when they're there, and then from that point on, Aqua will take up the billing.
Okay, and I'll just add Aqua to this. It just says will be billed, the town will be billed, so, and they're talking about Purcell's.
Well, that's why we turn this over to Dan for his recommendation before
I have Dan's right here.
I didn't know the letter read the way it did. Okay.
Ready for vote? Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Counselor Hartranft?
Aye.
Counselor McCormick?
Aye.
Counselor Jaquin?
Aye.
Supervisor Lockwood?
Aye.
The motion is carried.
Resolution 9945.
So that he will give us they will give us separate quotes on each one mentioned, right? Like we did last year. We cannot combine. Okay.
I'll put that in the paper. Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Counselor Hartranft?
Aye.
Counselor McCormick?
Aye.
Counselor Jaquin?
Aye.
Supervisor Lockwood?
Aye.
Motion is carried.
Resolution 99-46, posting of town roads, excuse me. Move to authorize the town clerk to advertise the temporary posting of town roads restricting vehicles with a gross load in excess of 2 tons per axle. This shall take effect immediately upon publication and continue until May 1st, 1999.
I'll second it.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Counselor Hartranft?
Aye.
Counselor McCormick?
Aye.
Counselor Jaquin?
Aye.
Supervisor Lockwood?
Aye.
The motion is carried.
Public comment. Do we have any more? Yes. Pardon?
Regarding the Seneca Hill hydrant maintenance, why should the town be billed for that? Previous history indicates that it should be billed to those who use it or benefit from it.
Okay.
I really,
I believe the answer to that is they'll be billed to us.
it's not just gonna be here, it's gonna be hue and cry when that gets published.
The reason they're being billed to us, because our way of collecting that money back, I believe, is through taxes.
Is this has
Yes, through the assessment.
For the water district.
The district pays. Yes.
Right now, the developer for the senior living is gonna pay for the hydrants, and then Aqua's gonna bill us for the maintenance on the hydrants, which we, in turn, pass back on to the district.
That wasn't clear from the prior.
Well,
It was
that's
confusing.
why I had a couple questions.
Anyone else? Okay, our next meeting for the planning board, which we've already been read that, but it's February 2nd. 7 p.m. Our next bill signing agenda and preparation will be February 9th, and that's at 6:30 p.m. February 10th is the next zoning board meeting, and that's at 7. And February 11th will be our next regular town board meeting, and that's at 7 p.m.
I make a motion, we adjourn?
Now, I got just one thing before we adjourn, because nobody brought it. I figured somebody bring it up under new business, but the question was asked about if the information is all going to be put together about this petition. Are we going to appoint somebody to carry this petition, or are we going to carry it? And I think the question's got to be answered for Bundyville. But we got to get all our information together, then people involved. Huh?
It's Ginny's question. It's your question, Ginny.
Well, I think it's got to be addressed to, once we get all the information together and put the package together, that everybody gets to see it.
Well, I think we all agreed with that.
But the question was not answered. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think I answered. I think he said he would get down. Greg was going to get down at anybody that couldn't get around.
In between the public hearing and when the meeting opened?
I don't know. When did you make that statement? It wasn't me, right?
It was me, but I haven't heard it during the public meeting.
Can we back that out? Mine was for information, Dennis, if someone had questions once we have the figures, but I don't, unless the board wants to vote on taking a petition around, I don't know if that has been an option yet with us.
I agree with Ginny. The wrong facts get out, and then things get distorted, and then people run with it. And I think it's very important that they get true and accurate facts and talk to somebody who can answer their questions. They want you? We got it on tape, right? Okay.
I'll second Peg's motion.
Thanks, Jess.
Dennis.
There was a group of people that didn't know anything about the money being put on the taxes. This is what they have been informed of. They just did it to help out a neighbor, or to help out a friend. They signed a petition. They knew nothing about money going on in Texas. So this is why it should be all written down, black and white. Show it to him, either sign yes or no.
On the petition that you sign, whether it's a petition or a vote, all this will be broken down and for you to read, peruse, however you want to handle it, and prior to making any decisions.
A lot of people signed it because their friend asked them to. A lot of people did.
Because your neighbor asked you.
Well, the people who were concerned should have been here tonight. I think quite a few of them were, you know. And as far as it's our obligation to go around door to door after this, we've already had public meetings, and without a doubt there'll be another public meeting. You know,
There's a lot of people that don't get the bill. Or they don't get the mail time. Because
we'll have to make a decision on it sometime, but I find that it would be a difficult task for this town board to go door to door knocking on doors, because we look like we're pushing this, you know. I mean, I can't see why if it's a small item like this, it couldn't be mailed to everybody. But
What they need to do
we've done that before.
If it's a yes vote or a no vote, when there's a public hearing like this, the no people should be out talking to the people and say, you need to go to this meeting. The yes people should be out talking to the other people. Everybody should get as many people as they can. I mean, we put it in the paper. Last time we did this, I think we had 7 public hearings on it before we finally voted on it. And every public hearing, the same questions were asked every time. Now, out of 7, you would think somebody would hear something out of it, but you can only do. It's really up to the people out there. It's your water district, or it isn't your water district. If you don't want it voted, you should get the people here. If you do want it voted, get the people here. That's really.
There's 8 right around me that didn't want it, and they didn't show up tonight. as long as they can do it for the people on 48,
At that price is in the
then they should be able to come up with a better price for on 57. I mean, what's the difference between the two?
I don't know, I'd like to see the figures from 48. I'd like to see how many people are involved, whether we're talking 80 people or 300 people, to get the cost down to that. I'd like to know the engineers that you talked to that said what they told you down there in Bundyville.
It was the same gentleman you talked to that day.
There's our engineer, right there, and he didn't talk to you.
The day you went down to settle a dispute with John,
But you talked to the people installing the water line, not to any engineer.
He told me he was the engineer.
Aqua supervisor, find out who it was, Jerry talked to him.
But he told me they absorbed the cost of from 8-inch to the 12-inch. They absorbed the cost of the water tower, and they were putting in...
Aqua supervisor.
Pardon?
Onondaga Water Authority superintendent that was on the job then. Not an engineer.
I think there's a misconception too, whether it's an 8-inch or a 12-inch, the cost of the pipe is really, I mean, it is a cost, but it's not a major cost. The major cost of that line, whether it was a 2-inch or 12-inch, is the trenching, the amount of labor involved, the refurbishing it and coming back and restoring it and fixing your driveways and fixing your lawns and doing that, that's the major cost. Is that correct, Jerry, or am I? So, I mean, you know, we're talking this cost between an 8 or a 12 or whatever. If you take 20% of that cost is what your burden is. So if you had a 10-inch line, you would still have to dig a trench for a 2-inch line, which would be 20%, which is your cost. You see what I mean? You still got to dig that trench, and that's part of that $700,000 or $18,000. So, I mean, I think some things we're doing, but I just wanted to make sure everybody understands that. It wasn't the size of the pipe as much as it is the labor and the cost of installing it.
Didn't someone say tonight, I don't know all the people that were here speaking, but they were talking about the different costs between Route 48 and Route 57. Doesn't the main line go up Route 48? Someone said that tonight. So for Minetto, it only meant an opening to that district, and so it wasn't like having to lay all this lead pipe in or something.
Well, the $69 may be an existing line that's there where you're really just paying $69 a year to put a tap on. If that's all we had to do, it would be, this is a new construction.
As far as Route 48, I want to check into it to see if it's for $69. I don't know what they got for that. It seems awful cheap. They had to have some funding, or it's an existing line, or there's something else besides just $69 to put a water line in. It costs $28 a foot to put a water line in.
Terry, isn't it kind of hard to compare any water district or water line to another because there's so many different things that come into play? How many people live on the line versus...
Well, the more people you have on the line and the closer they are, the more people you have in a district, the cheaper it is. But $69 per unit for a water district, there's something else involved. There's funding involved. There's something else besides that. There's got to be a cost that was absorbed by somebody.
So it's hard to say, well, compare 57 and 48.
You can't compare two different, unless you know the total story behind them, you can't compare them.
Right.
The gentleman was here tonight that told me, Mark Reed, he was sitting right over there tonight. He's the gentleman that told me that he did it for his mother, and it cost $69 for 20 years. But the worst cost, he says, was putting it in, because he said that just for that little valve to connect from his mother's home to their water line cost $347, just for that little valve. And then he had to dig the ditch, plus he had to get a contractor to put it in, plus a plumber to go through with it. He said it was almost $1,000 to connect from their water line to his mother's house.
That price seems reasonable. That's probably what it costs.
And $69 a year for 20 years.
There's something else involved in that. I'll find out and let the board know what that is.
Thanks.
Can we go through our motion now, Bob?
What was that motion?
You made a motion to adjourn, and I seconded it.
Yeah.